nandito pa rin tayo sa San Francisco at kausap natin ang ating special guest here on Kababayan Today, si Jose Antonio Vargas. Jose, we were speaking about your film, Documented.
Yes.
And the experience that you had, the realization of shifting it to a more personal narrative.
In a more personal narrative, yeah.
Right, and you were talking about the difficulties and the challenges because you had to interview the people closest to you.
I mean, the hardest stories we tell, I think, are always the ones about ourselves, right? And, you know, to put a camera in your family and you tell them, I remember, you know, before we started filming my grandmother, I was just telling her, Lola, you know, say whatever you want to say. You know, I'm not going to edit you. Like, don't be afraid of the camera. Don't feel like you have to, like, protect me. Don't feel like you have to be nice. Just be honest. Just be honest. So that was really tough. And because the thing with documentaries is it's not scripted, so you don't know what you're going to get.
It's very much reality television, right? It's kind of like that, right?
It's like verite, right? It's a very much, I just didn't know what was going to come out of that. And I think as Filipinos, I think telling our own stories, you know, unfiltered, is a harder thing. I was trying to figure out what other documentaries out there that have featured like the Filipino experience. There's not a lot. And that's why I'm very proud that the film is so Filipino. I mean, a third of it is in Tagalog, right?
What are people that aren't Filipino? What is their feedback to you?
We showed the film at Miami University in Ohio. So it was mostly white, mostly puti audience. And so what I like about it is the film also, you can also get the sense that people are being introduced to the Filipino culture, right? Like the first shot of my grandmother is, you know, frying lumpias.
In the kitchen.
And you see the aluminum foil. I remember when my relatives showed it, I can't believe you showed the aluminum foil. I'm like, well, because that's what it is to be in a Filipino household. We fry stuff, you know, and then first time you see my Lola, you see her in curlers. That's how she is, you know, and so they're introduced, non-Filipinos are introduced to the culture, but I think more than anything, they seem really moved by the personal story of it, right? That I think people in this country have an idea of what immigration is, and they think it's a Mexican issue. You know, they think it's about the border. And so you introduce them to a story that it's about a country called the Philippines. And with this, there's always something that's very universal about specific stories. So when I decided to make the film so personal, it had to be specific, right? It had to be as specific and as real and as authentic as it possibly could be.
Were there people in your documentary that you wanted them to be a part of it that didn't want to go on camera?
You know, actually, thankfully that didn't happen. I mean, what I do know is my mom, you know, my mother being very hesitant about it. I haven't seen my mother since I was 12.
That's close to 12 years.
21 years. This past August.
21 years.
21 years this past August. So I've spent my entire life, most of my life, not knowing her, not seeing her. So all of a sudden, what do? I call her and I'm like, you know, Mom, I'm gonna send a film crew. You don't know who they are. They don't know who you are, and they need you to spill your guts. Right? I mean, what a freaking uncomfortable conversation, right?
But she agreed.
She agreed, but again, she was worried. I remember she called me, I think when they just started filming, and she called me and she said, Ton, that's what my family calls me, that's my nickname. What if I say things that you're not gonna like? And I'm like, you know, the goal of this film is not to make me look good or make me look, that's not the goal. I mean, the goal is to get at the heart of what happened, right? I don't make sense without my mom. My story doesn't make sense without her. So in some ways, I sought out to document the undocumented experience. And what do? I end up documenting my mom. So, but that tells us about what immigration has always been about in this country, which is it's about families. It's about what sacrifices parents make for their kids.
Yes.
So, but it was hard to get her, you know, and I wasn't in the Philippines. Can you imagine too, like, how do I direct a film where I can't even go, right? So there was 10 hours of footage of her just looking straight to the camera. And I remember when I first saw all that footage, I mean, it was heartbreaking. I mean, the whole film could have been just her in front of the camera for an hour and a half. But of course, we had to edit it and we had to figure out how the film could, the film to me, it has to work as a work of art. It has to work as a cinematic experience.
Right.
Right? And so it was important to kind of keep the dignity of that.
So we're talking to Jose about his film, but when we return here on Kababayan Today, we're going to talk to him about why it was so important for him to get this documentary done, what he was trying to say with the film. And if you haven't watched the film is available on iTunes and Netflix. And this is a film that not just Filipinos should watch. Everybody should watch this film. I've been able to watch it and it was just a very moving experience for me. So actually to be sitting with you and talking to you after watching it just proves how important cinema and that medium is to really be able to tell a story. It's a powerful, powerful way of reaching people. So when we return, kausap pa rin natin si Jose Antonio Vargas. Huwag po kayong alis.